TalkShoe is taking forever to load. The TalkShoe's taking forever to load. I'm only playing this music until we go live on both TalkShoe and Restream. We're live on Restream, but
Gotcha.
we're not live on TalkShoe yet. So,
hey everyone.
And I've got different music. If you think the Halloween theme sucks, there's other. I can change it to other tunes, and yeah, we can incorporate this into Under the Bleachers as well if you'd like to, like an intro or an outro. There's other things you can do.
My bill is not due soon. Thank you very much.
You know what? I'm going to try TalkShoe on my cell phone because it's taking too long to load and it's kind of pissing me off. So I'm going to try TalkShoe on my cell phone, on my iPad. Cell phone's not working, but yeah. iPhone, iPad. I'm going to try on my iPad because this is not... Okay, never mind. We're live on TalkShoe. I think... All right. We can turn this freaking Halloween music off. Welcome, welcome, welcome. No, I don't want to play the AI. Fuck you, AI. I don't want to play the...
Oh, there we go. It was almost Michael Myers music. Come on, man.
I know, crazy way to start an intro and the 13th year anniversary of Draft Utopia. Chris Ransom, William Yanish here. We're live on Restream and TalkShoe now, and we will have the tight end. We will have the offensive tackle rankings. Yeah, we did the tight ends last week, William. It was pretty fun. Eli Stowers. It's funny. Joey's favorite position's the offensive tackle position because he was a former tackle. And your favorite position's the tight end, and I didn't have either of you for your favorite positions. You, it was an emergency. Me, it is my phone. Literally, the battery died, and Joey's gotten into a habit where he only calls in through the phone versus calling into TalkShoe when you're here. So old habits die hard, I guess, but we're here. William's here. I'm here. We're ready to break down the offensive tackles for the NFL draft. Maybe we'll break down maybe William can break down like his top 5 tight ends afterwards or something. But we'll start with Spencer Fano, the Utah right tackle. He is the #1 tackle in this class. I think I have a 94 to 99 potential on him. He's played both tackle spots, and there isn't a single box he doesn't check. So there's a reason why mock drafts are putting him in the top 5 this year. And frankly, if I'm the Jets and you think Nussmeyers is going to fall to you at 33, take either Fano, take either Jordan Tyson, take either one of the edge rushers, Ruben Bain or David Bain. Take Caleb Downs or take a receiver, whether it's Tyson or Carnell Tate at 1. You have a lot of other options. You don't just have to settle for Ty Simpson or Mendoza because you're 0-7 and you bench Justin Fields. That's called settling. That is called settling. And losing franchises settle. So
I think they had a little bit of a rip there between the owner and Justin Fields, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they should probably get him out of there. That would probably be great for Fields, actually. The Jets is where, quarterbacks go to die. So
yep, I agree. And I mean, but the thing with Fanu is there's really not a lot of weaknesses. His upside's huge. He can play either tackle role. And I mean, I don't think the Jets are going to draft a tackle at 1 because they just took Olu Fashanu in 2024 and then they took Membu last year at right tackle. So they're not going to draft a tackle, even if Fano is the best player in the draft. They're not going to pick him. So
that's the Jets doing Jets things.
Yes, it is. I have a round 1 grade on Fano. Yes, he can move into the top 10 or the top 5. I'm not going to put him there because in my initial mock draft, I had him outside of the top 5 and the top 10. So that's why I've got a round 1 grade on him. but he does check every box on tape, and he could get pushed up very easily. Number 2 tackle is Caleb Tiernan, the Northwestern left tackle. I noticed he only had a 91 potential in the summer and Proctor at a 94, but I'm moving Tiernan up to a 94 simply because of what I saw versus Oregon. Everyone's saying Mateo Ugalele is a first-round pick. He's a lock for the first round. Well, he 9 reps against Caleb Tiernan, he had 2 ties and 7 losses and 0 wins in 9 pass blocking reps. 9 reps passing and running plays. So 2 ties where he got pressure on Preston Stone, but Stone got rid of the ball, and 7 losses where Tiernan just pancaked him and neutralized him completely, pushed him back the line of scrimmage. So if my thought process is if Mateo Ugalele is a first-round talent, then Caleb Tiernan's a top 10 pick because he's just better. That's what the tape showed in the Oregon Northwestern game this year on Rumble. And I even did a thread about it in Scouting College Football. So, yeah, Caleb Tiernan is OT2. OT3 is Caden Proctor. I know some people saying, you have Proctor too low. He should be OT1. Here's the thing with Proctor. When you watched his tape last year versus Tennessee, when he's pass blocking in the game against Tennessee in 2024, when he was pass blocking, his feet literally looked like they were trapped in quicksand. His run blocking was dominant, and when he gets his hands on the defender and he does his footwork, his footwork's proper, he's as good as Orlando Brown Jr. He can hold a block up to 10 seconds on a passing play. Like, he's as good as Orlando Brown when his footwork is proper. But the problem is his footwork on passing plays is inconsistent. And he was bad against Florida State, not just in pass protection, but on running plays as well. He was just very bad against Florida State. He's rebounded since that game, but I think he's the 3rd best tackle in the draft. And I would not take him in the top 5 or the top 10 for that matter. I also think he's a little bit of a commitment phobe. A lot of people are saying Proctor has character concerns. They're not specifying what the character concerns are because he hasn't done anything wrong off the field. But at the same token, he goes to he decommits from Iowa and goes to Alabama. He jokes about entering the transfer portal, leaving Alabama to go to Iowa, but it's just a leverage play to get more NIL money. And then Alabama caves in and gives him the NIL money to keep him in Alabama. So his character concerns aren't necessarily legal problems. They're just stuff that rubs NFL teams the wrong way because of a team like the Browns or a small market team like the Browns or Raiders says, we're going to draft Caden Proctor. What they're thinking is, okay, if we draft Proctor, he's going to stay with us on his rookie deal. But if he does well, he's going to make us pay out the ass to keep him. And if he does poorly, we've just wasted a first-round pick on a bust. So it's a lose-lose either way you look at it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think a few teams have soured on Proctor. They haven't taken him off their boards entirely. They haven't moved him out of the first round, but a few teams have soured on him for that reason. And he's going to have to show that's not going to affect him in the interview process at the combine if he wants to be the first offensive tackle taken. Yeah. And he's got to clean up his footwork in the footwork drills. If he doesn't do that, he won't be the first tackle taken. But if he does, we'll see.
Yeah. Footwork, I can't stress it enough, is one of the most important things in football, no matter what position you're in, or what position you're playing, rather. I mean, and then I mean, you're talking about Caleb or what do you call it? Character concerns. There we go. That's the word. Yeah, and that depends on what there is. I mean, whether it's just something like what happened, Judkins and Ole Miss and, bailing for Ohio State after he gets more money, and what happened with Sluka, being lied to, and things like that. That's something you would have to decide for yourself as a GM. And that is the worst thing when you're sitting there watching
Because if you're the Browns and you take Caden Proctor, the best case scenario is he does well, but then he makes you pay out the ass in order to keep him on a second contract. And the worst case scenario is you've drafted another bust who's about the most overhyped Alabama tackle since Andre Smith. So that's the worst case scenario. So that's a lose-lose either way you look at it.
Yeah. But
and the thing that separates both Fanu and Tiernan from Proctor is, one, I hardly saw any weaknesses on tape, and two, both guys can play either tackle role. Tiernan was the right tackle when Peter Skoronsky was the left tackle at Northwestern before he kicked inside to guard. So, and then he moved over to left tackle. So positional versatility with the top two tackles, hardly any weaknesses on tape, and just good. I think cut blocking might be the only area of improvement for Proctor. He's pretty complete in that respect. Fanu checks every box, and Proctor, it's the attitude, it's how he conducts himself in the interviews. It's just you don't want to come across as a commitment phobe, if you know what I'm saying. That's basically that's why Proctor has character concerns, because he's going from Alabama then to Iowa, his hometown, and then he's trying to use the Iowa thing. He's not even practicing with Iowa. He's just hanging out on their football facility, and then he's using it as a leverage play to get more NIL money. That basically tells NFL teams, look, I'll play for the Cleveland Browns if they draft me, but if they don't pay me $20 million a year when my market value is $15 million a year, I'm bouncing. That's basically the message Proctor's conveying to NFL teams, whether he realizes that or not. And that can be a real red flag if teams see right through that.
Yeah. Man, I'm sitting here looking at his weight too. I mean, his size and weight, 6'7". He's listed at 366 pounds of what I'm looking at here. You know, I mean,
this feels like Andre Smith. Even if he clears all the character concerns, this feels like Andre Smith all over again. Agreed. Minus the man boobs, of course. We don't need to bring up that grotesque combine in 2009.
Yeah. We'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, we will.
I'm sitting here reading this summary of his scouting report, and
you know what? Send me a link to the scouting report. I'll screen share that, and then we'll go back to screen sharing the tackle ranking. Send me a link to that in the chat room, and I'll pull that up.
Okay, let's see what I can do here. Oh man, I'm not sure. I might have to email it to you.
You can't post the link in the private chat?
Hold on.
Or the regular chat room? Because if you do, I'll screen share that instead, because that's one of the benefits of this show is I'm open to doing that. Like, if you'd rather have me screen share a scouting report versus what we have up in our news ticker, I'm open to doing that.
For sure.
Because I know there's a lot of popular YouTube channels that actually use that format. Like, I know Geeks and Gamers, they'll read news, but they'll read it off like either IGN or Sports Illustrated or something. Like, I know their sports channel, and and that's how they'll get clicks. And I know Black and White Sports does the same thing, where they'll have Rhodes rants, talk about whatever's trending in the news, but sometimes they'll screen share an article and read quotes from it. So I am open to doing that. If you want to send me the Caleb Proctor scouting report, I'll screen share that instead.
Right. I think I can do this right now. Let's see how technology dumb I am.
Well, you're technology smarter than me.
I don't know about that, man.
I got out of the phone. I got out of the shower, and I don't know if my battery died or if water is on my phone. And I did get an update from Joey. Joey will call in. He's dealing with something personal at the moment, so we will wait. But he will call in to talk to you. So I did clear that hurdle as well.
Perfect. Well, not perfect, but you know what I mean. Everyone knows what I mean. Come on, pull out. Sorry it's taking so long. Brand new phone, it doesn't have all the stuff done yet. And
No worries.
And
the final tackle that made round one is Francis Mauigoa. He is a right tackle for Miami. Proctor's a pure left tackle. Mauigoa is a 5-star recruit like Proctor, but he's a pure right tackle. And it's funny how this draft process started with the tackles. The 2 5-star recruits, Proctor and Mauigoa, were seen as the top 2 tackles, and they've both been jumped by Spencer Fanu and Caleb Tiernan. I think only one other person besides me has Tiernan in the first round, and they mocked him to the Patriots as a right tackle. I wouldn't be upset with that. Hey, we're maximizing Drake May's protection if we get another tackle. I mean, yeah, Morgan Moses has been great this year, but he's like 35 now. He's getting older. He's on a 1-year deal. So, I would not be upset if the Patriots drafted a right tackle like Mauigoa, Fanu. We're not getting Fano. We've won too many games. We've eliminated ourselves from the Spencer Fano sweepstakes. We're 5-2. We're not, unless we lose the rest of our games, we're not getting Spencer Fano. Unless we find a way to lose 10 straight games. And with the Patriots schedule, I highly doubt they're going to do that. They just have too much momentum right now.
yeah, for sure. There you go, sir.
Perfect. And we will share this tab instead, and then we will go back to sharing the rankings. But yes, Proctor, they gave him a 91.9. But Maui Go is the next guy we're gonna skitter. But yeah, I'm lower on Jennings Dunker, and then the consensus. I am flexible in that respect. After 5, 10, 40, 6, 7.
That's a big boy.
91.9 is the overall rating. That's the potential they're giving. 81% pass blocking. And again, the footwork is the issue. The pass blocking strength is not the issue, but he not get his hands on defenders consistently. But when he does get his hands on the defender and the footwork, only other tackle outs Brown here that I get clean for seconds. The drawback is his footwork and his hand placement are not nearly as consistent as Orlando Brown Jr. That's the only drawback. And it's a pretty big drawback if you ask me.
Yeah, for sure. Is this thing going?
Proctor. Condition issues. I disagree. I think the technical off some teams because had left improve his hand play, improve his pass blocking footwork, running plays. Yeah, I mean, all pro. Put him in a downhill blocking scheme, and you've got yourself an all pro tackle. Look, I don't think Proctor was as good as Will Campbell at LSU. I don't think he's an all-pro tackle. I think he could be a fine blue chip maybe, but he's not going to be an all-pro. I can already tell by reading this scouting report they've overhyped the crap out of this guy.
Yeah, they have. They're calling him, pretty much calling him a unicorn, and my audio seems to be going crazy. Yeah, is your audio doing that, dude? It's like fading in and out. Like, it's weird.
And you had Tony Mandarich, the incredible. Let me check. So, okay, how can I check the audio? It's very simple. Oops, lost reconnecting. All right. So,
Actually, I can hear you now.
see this, Williams? Yeah, it's not just that. There's an easy way to find me. You go to the people screen where the people in the chat room, and if the audio has a green bar, it means that you can hear everything's working perfectly.
Gotcha.
And that's how you hear. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to the tackle rankings here. I think somebody like I might some fantasy guy or I don't like sites with ads, so I'm gonna go back to Draft Utopia now. But if you want me to look at some of the scouting reports, I can do that for future instances. If you see something else that stands out, let me know. I'll pull back the link up and but I am gonna go back to sharing. I'm gonna go back to sharing.
NFL Draft Buzz isn't something that I normally use. It's good to maybe find their names and weights and maybe get a little bit of the idea who they are, but they use a lot of copy and paste reports and things like that. I found it's kind of rough there sometimes. So
Yes, it is. And Maui Goa is a good right tackle. I mean, he did everything well. When I type right up on him, I'll pull that up in a second. I'll pull up 2025 because that's the last guy I did like an in-depth write-up on. And the rest of these guys outside of the first round at this point in the process, they're just projections. But yeah, and that's really the big thing with because I had Maui Goa as my fourth tackle in the draft, and I had the Chiefs picking him back in the preseason. I had the Chiefs taking Francis Maui Goa. Maui Goa was my fourth and final first round tackle, and he has the pass blocking. His zone blocking, his pancake blocking, pull blocking, and cut blocking need to improve, but he did enough as a pass blocker and as a run blocker for Damian Martinez and Cam Ward last year to assert himself as a first-round pick. And it's ironic because Proctor and Maui Goa were the top two tackles coming out of high school, but Fanu and Tiernan just have better tape and better technique, so they both fall in the draft as a result.
Yeah, I know my Niners are going to need a offensive tackle pretty soon.
I do like this tackle class a lot. We've got 25 different tackles with draft eligible grades. So we're going to go back to week 8 here because we're about ready to start round 2. Blake Miller, I've got 4 tackles with is there 1 in Jennings Dunker or 2 ends in Jennings Dunker? Jennings Dunker, there's 2 ends in Jennings Dunker. I don't know why we only put 1 in there, but Jennings Dunker is Jennings. Well, it's interesting. I had Blake Miller as the top round 2 tackle, but I'm open to Clemson's 3 and 4 at this point. I do think after the top few tackles, I think after the top 4 tackles, I think Blake Miller has the highest ceiling. The problem is I don't know if Blake Miller is going to get drafted in round 2, even if he has the ceiling of a round 2 tackle. I don't, because Clemson's 3 and 4, and I'm sure there are some really bad plays of Blake Turner on Blake Miller, not Blake Turner. Blake Turner's a Kansas State tight end. I'm sure there are some plays of Blake Miller where the tape is very sloppy. One thing I can do, William, before I get back to Draft Utopia is I can share the X tab and type in Blake Miller on the search engine and see what the people are saying. That's one thing I have the power to do on X.
Let's do it.
So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna see what people are saying.
See what all the armchair quarterbacks or GMs
what people are saying about Blake Miller, because this is something I can do, something I probably should do more often than just promoting my own content. What's interesting, Draft Professor is hosting the Mrs. Are Relevant, and they're talking about offensive linemen as well. How ironic. So we could just come into their space or merge with their show if we wanted to, but I don't want to be jerks to them. We've only got 6 viewers. What happened? We had like 100 viewers on X last year. What happened to our audience? Did they realize our content wasn't very good, or no? Because here,
Our
the
content's
Blake Miller
fine.
content's fine. I agree. Our content
It's
is
usually
good.
the technical difficulties.
I agree. Blake Miller, 90 Pro Football College Network has Blake Miller with a 90.1. Yeah, Blake Miller. I want Blake Miller, not Keandre Miller. I know there's a lot of Millers, but you're getting the Miller in hockey with the Miller in college football confused. It's like, come on, you're better than this, X. Elon, you got to fix the algorithm, buddy. Elon, you got to fix the algorithm, because it's like the fact that Blake Miller's Clemson's 3-4.
Yeah. Who saw that
So
coming?
that's the thing. I'm not saying Blake Miller won't be a second round pick, but I just have less confidence in that happening. He might have the upside to be the first tackle picked in round 2. That's his ceiling for sure, but what is his floor? I wish somebody would say something about how good or how shitty Blake Miller was, but his blocking grade is above 90. He has a very high ceiling, and I think he's got the highest ceiling of any of the day 2 tackles. So he's OT5 for that reason. For me, but again, Clemson's 3-4. Ooh, here we go. We got something. Blake Miller got worked on that sack. Clemson Sports Network. Clemson Addict. They follow me on Twitter. Blake Miller is such a disappointment. 190 likes, 3 retweets, 23 comments. Let's see what the comments are here for Clemson, because this person does follow me on X, and then we'll get back to Brian Parker II. Yes, you would figure all starts. He's still getting beat easily. He had a great freshman season and has just gotten worse and worse. O-line coaches also, dudes fixed nothing. And they've got the photo of Ben Affleck with the Ben Affleck or Matt Damon with the I think it's Ben Affleck with the cigarette. He looks all depressed. That's their profile picture of the Clemson. To everyone, this whole O-line's an embarrassment. Our O-line's been trashed for a good bit now. See, reading comments from the fans, I've seen enough comments to say this guy probably won't be the top tackle. But at the same time, I think coaching's been the huge issue with Clemson. This guy could fall to day 3 and be one of the steals of the draft. He could also end up going in round 2 and being a disappointment. Nothing would surprise me with Blake Miller.
Well, if you want to talk about ratings that are or summaries or reports that are different, NFL Draft Buzz has him ranked number 15 overall, or number 15.
Yeah, and PFSN, Cam Melner, they have Brian Parker II with a 97.2. They are highest graded tackle. That is Pro Football. PFSN is PFSN Pro Football Network?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they used to be Pro Football Network, but now it's Pro Football. I'm guessing it's Pro Football Simulation Network. That's what the S is, or Pro Football Sports Network. That's probably what it is. Pro Football Sports Network. It used to just be Pro Football Network, but yeah. Okay. They added an S for make it Sports Network. But yeah, Parker's actually the highest rated tackle in the entire country. So I want to check something here with the tackles, and then I'm going to then I'll get back to I want to check something with the tackles, and then because I might adjust my tackle rankings. I rarely adjust my player rankings during the show. But I want to check something here and see what actually checks out here. Okay, so we've got a 92 potential grade on both Brian Parker and Blake Miller. And everything I'm seeing says Parker's better than Miller. So we are going to move Parker ahead of Miller. Because we have a 92 potential on both tackles. I'll keep Blake Miller in round 2, but we're going to move Parker ahead of him since they both have the same ceiling. And everything I've seen says Parker's better. Because I just got a feeling Miller's going to move down. Like, if I watch Clemson LSU, another thing we could do is we could watch some of the tape on Rumble for watch some of Clemson's offensive line tape on Rumble or YouTube or whatever and find out what's what. But from everything I'm reading, Miller's a guy who's probably going to drop if Clemson does not turn this around and finish the year with a winning record. Miller's a guy who's in jeopardy of falling out of round 2. That's what I would say with him right now. And I think that's a fair assessment.
Agreed.
So we've got we'll refresh the page here. So now you'll see the changed rankings with 5 and Miller at 6, but I've got a 92 potential on both Parker and Miller. Next guys, the next players we have here are the next 3 guys all have a potential of 91 out of 99. We've got Emil Wagner, the Notre Dame right tackle. We've got Jennings Dunker, the Iowa right tackle. We've got Isaiah World, the Oregon left tackle. And Caleb, yes. So Emil Wagner, I have not looked at Emil Wagner probably as much as I should, but I know he can't be any worse than Anthony Knapp. I studied Antoine Knapp because Knapp's a 2027 first round tackle at the moment. I have not looked at Wagner, the right tackle, but I have a film cut on Jeremiah Love that I uploaded to YouTube, and I can go into iMovie. I can look at the Jeremiah Love, and I can look at the runs. I can look at some of the runs briefly that Jeremiah Love made, and just briefly look at Jeremiah Love and briefly look at the tape. And the key word is briefly because I don't want to spend too much time harping over this, William, but I'll look at a few plays from the film I've done on Jeremiah Love, and we'll get this ironed out.
Yes, sir.
Let's see here. I'm looking at
these guys are all over this place with these guys. That's really interesting, actually.
Okay, he just got picked. Yeah, because I'm looking at this running play here. He just took his hands off the defender, but Love still made a big play despite that. Notre Dame's right tackle, he took his hands off the Texas Tech defender. And I know Ruben Bain Jr. just absolutely served both Notre Dame tackles in the season opener, but Ruben Bain's just that good. Like there's a reason. But you know, he's gotten better. So if I had to re-rank these tackles, just looking at the tape here, I would probably put Jennings Dunker and World ahead of the Notre Dame right tackle because there's a lot of sloppy plays. So just the tape shows that, and I do trust the tape here. So I would probably I'll put Dunker at OT7, World at OT8, and Wagner at OT9. But I've got a 91 potential on. But yeah, Dunker looks good at right tackle. World looks good for a second round left tackle, but Wagner's tape is just not on par with those two. It's just Emil Jennings. His tape just does not look as good as those two. So I'm going to move Emil Wagner down to my worst round two tackle. I'm going to move him down because the tape shows that. The tape shows he's not as good as those two. So I am going to make that change, and yeah, we'll move on to round 3 now. Emil Wagner's tape was not impressive against Texas A&M, and I know he struggled against Miami too. I know both tackles for Notre Dame struggled against Miami because Reuben Bain Jr. popped in that game, and I did the film for that. So yes,
I'm
we're gonna
still waiting to see that, man, and I can't wait. As
It's
much as
on
you talk
YouTube
that
right
guy up.
now. I mean, it's on YouTube and Rumble, so it's on YouTube and Rumble, so it's there whenever you want to check it out. You just have to go to the video section of Draft Utopia. The live section shows our streams. The videos show all the film cuts we do on the Draft Utopia YouTube channel. You could also like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. If you go to our Rumble channel and watch our videos, some of our live streams are, I don't know, they say they're monetized. I haven't checked how much we've made or haven't made. I do this for fun, so I haven't really checked. Caleb Lomu is the Utah left tackle. I have a round 3 grade on him. Yeah, I've got a round 3 grade. Basically, everybody in round 3, I think I have a 90 for potential at a 99. And then round 4 are the guys that can develop into high-end starters, but they're not guys that can develop into Pro Bowl tackles. And Lomu's a guy Daniel Kelly had a first-round grade on Fanu and Lomu. Lomu is good. Like, Lomu could very easily get drafted ahead of the third-round projection I have on him. Because he was a left tackle, and then he took the left tackle job from Fanu. So Lomu could very easily go a lot higher than where I currently have him projected. Because he's a good football player.
Yeah, and any player that plays for Kyle Whittingham, I mean, I have to feel that Whittingham saw something, and he's a great coach.
Yeah.
So, and having two tackles, in the top 10 overall, well, top 8.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've got Lomu as OT10, but yes, 2 of the top 10 offensive tackles in the draft. Yeah, definitely. And then number 11, I've got Illinois left tackle J.C. Davis. I have not watched the Illinois tape from Indiana yet. I know Indiana whooped their ass. I have not watched the tape yet. That's the next game I'm going to upload because I just uploaded Miami, Florida to Rumble on Thursday. So I have the Reuben Bain, Austin Barber tape. I could start looking at that as early as after the show today. And then we've got Boise State left tackle Cage Casey. I've got a 90 out of 99 potential on Cage Casey. I've got a 3rd round grade on Casey. So Casey, and then Colorado right tackle Xavier Hill is the final tackle that has Pro Bowl upside in this draft. There's like 13 tackles that meet that benchmark for this year's class. And then you get to the day 3 guys that can develop into high-end starters, but not necessarily Pro Bowl guys. And these are guys that are probably going to have to start out as number 2 tackles or swing tackles and work their way into a role, William. They're going to have to start out as swing tackles more than likely and work their way into a bigger role.
Yes, sir. And that's what the NFL needs more of is developmental things like that instead of just, throwing a prospect to the wolves,
Yeah.
They do that a lot these days, thinking that, oh, well, they're either going to sink or swim, or drafted them in the first round, and this and that. And you know how that is.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We found 25 tackles with it because my cutoff from starter to backup grade, anything below an 85 for potential is a backup grade for me. So if we find a player below an 85, we're probably looking at that player as a backup. And if we're wrong, we're wrong. The process will play itself out. But yeah, Austin Barber's my top graded 4th round tackle. I had a 2nd round grade on him at the beginning of the year. Barber, I still think Barber could develop into a high-end starter, but he's probably going to have to start out as a swing tackle. You look at how inconsistent Florida's been this season. I don't think that's all of Barber's fault because, they have Jake Slaughter, the top center in this draft, and they also have Austin Barber at left tackle. So I do think Florida's offensive line is good. And I think Lagway holds on to the ball too long. I think that's the other issue. So, and the decision-making with Lagway hasn't been as consistent as you'd like it to be. So I think those are the things that really need to get cleaned up with Austin Barber. Next player on my list, OT15, Carter Smith. Carter Smith, I actually have Carter Smith. I think Carter Smith's ceiling's higher than Mendoza, as crazy as that sounds. Is Carter Smith going to get drafted as high as Mendoza? Probably not. Probably not, because Indiana, people, when you look at Indiana's defense, you look at Mikhail Kamara, the sack artist with elite speed. When you look at Indiana's offense, you're looking at Surratt, highest rated player on their offense in terms of ceiling, and you're looking at Mendoza. So the guy who should be overlooked is Mendoza, but the guy who's going to be overlooked is Carter Smith, if that makes sense, because even though Carter Smith's doing a great job giving Mendoza that clean pocket, you're seeing Surratt and Mendoza in day one of mock drafts. You're not seeing Carter Smith in mock drafts, even though I think his ceiling's higher than Mendoza's. He's the guy getting overlooked. At Alabama, it was the same way. I thought Alex Leatherwood was better than Mac Jones coming out of college. Now, I was wrong on that. I'll admit I was wrong on that, William, but initially it looked like both quarterbacks, both Leatherwood and Mac Jones, were going to fail with the first teams that have drafted them. But that's the thing. Mac Jones could end up being next year's Daniel Jones on another team. That is very easily a possibility.
That is for sure, and he's got some incentive to win there. You know, he's making $100,000 to win, and he just cleared 400 for winning 4 games.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and what Mac Jones is doing is, I mean, really respectable for the situation and all the injuries. I mean, my Niners are literally like the Walking Dead here. You know, I mean, they've had the top 3 receivers out. They've had everyone out. Mac Jones is doing well though, you know, and I mean,
where will Mac Jones end up in the chat room? The good question. I'm going to say the Saints. I'm going to say the Saints bring him in as competition. Because if the Saints don't want to draft a quarterback, what they can do is they can keep Rattler and they can keep Mac Jones and basically let those two and show compete at camp next year. And that'll be enough. They'll get a pass for not taking a QB if they sign Mac Jones.
You know, just throwing a name out there. I know Mac Jones, he wanted to play for the Niners. He, you know, is playing for peanuts out there with an incentive-laden contract. And I'm saying maybe he ends up at the opposition with the Rams, you know, wanting to stay on the West Coast, you know, and stepping in for whenever Stafford, you know,
I could see that if
It's
Stafford does retire this year. If he doesn't, I think he'll go somewhere else and they'll draft his successor. But I think that's contingent on Stafford retiring. But I can see that outcome. Now, if Stafford doesn't retire, you have the Saints, you have the Jets. The Jets could say, well, we don't want to buy out Fields, but we do need to bring in competition. We don't like if the Jets were smart, you know what? I'm not going to do that to Mac Jones because A, if he's good, he'll make the Patriots look like idiots for getting rid of him. And B, if he sucks, Jets continue the narrative of where good quarterbacks go to die. So I'm not going to do that to Mac Jones.
Yeah, I think he's going to pick something, a place where he feels that he can succeed. And what happened with Fields and Johnson, what we were just talking about, you know, the owner in New York.
I think the Saints would be the first choice for where he could end up because I don't see the Steelers paying Mac Jones. I think the Steelers will either draft a quarterback or they'll trade for Tua or Kyler Murray. I don't think they're smart enough to say, let's gamble on Mac Jones. They don't feel like the type of team that would do that. The
Miami
other
is
scenario would be
interesting.
the Browns, because the Browns, Tommy Rees was the former Alabama offensive coordinator. I think Tommy Rees was the quarterback's coach when Mac Jones was there. because Bill O'Brien, I think, was the offensive coordinator when Mac Jones won a title at Alabama. I think Tommy Rees was the quarterbacks coach at Alabama when Mac Jones was there. So if the Saints don't get Mac Jones, I think the Browns would be the next choice.
Miami's an interesting one too. You know, Tua and his injuries. I like Quinn Ewers, but of course, he's a 7th-round pick. Maybe
But he
not
did
developing
jump
as quick.
Zach Wilson. He was supposed to be third string. He jumped Zach Wilson. So that tells me he's made some progress.
Yeah.
If he's made that much progress, I don't think the Dolphins will aggressively pursue a QB in free agency.
And I was talking a lot about that before the season. If Quinn Ewers gets on the field,
The only way they'd
it's gonna
pursue
be
a
hard to pull
QB is
him.
if Tua was traded first. If Tua got traded to like a Pittsburgh, then they probably would pursue Mac Jones. If they roll with Tua, because right now the Dolphins can't cut Tua before 2027 without taking a cap hit. So that's why I don't think they get Tua. But after Austin Barber and Carter Smith, the next tackle on my rankings is Ernest Green III, the Georgia right tackle. And then I think Ernest Green might be the Georgia left tackle, but he's the right tackle. But either way, I think he has experience on both sides of the offensive line. And then the last two tackles are both right tackles. Micah Pettis, Florida State right tackle, had a really strong game against Alabama, but he had some bad games against Virginia, struggled against Pitt, and Florida State has kind of soured on people after the strong start they had. So, and then Riley Malman, the Wisconsin right tackle. And Wisconsin's always produced good offensive linemen. So, yeah, I've got an 89 or an 88 on all of those guys. I've got an 89 on all of those guys. And then I've got two 5th-round tackles, William. So I've got 18 tackles in the first 4 rounds, but only 2 5th-round guys. Derek Graham, the Tulane left tackle, and Trey Zune, who was our final tackle last year in round 7. He's moved up 2 rounds to round 5. So, and Derek Graham is a good tackle. I think he was a freshman when Michael Pratt was there. I think he was like a freshman or sophomore when Michael Pratt was there. I'm looking that up right now with Derek Graham because he's one of these smaller school players. I am genuinely curious to see his resume and his experience. He was from Lake Minnetonka, Florida, 6'4", 314. No, he actually began his career at Texas A&M. He was a backle. He played his first 3 years at Troy. He was on the Troy. He was he started one year at Texas. He started 1 year. Yeah, he played at Troy, tackle, and then he was the swing tackle. Then he redshirted in 2021, and injury. 2022, he's the 6th man on the offensive line. 2023, he transfers to Texas Tech and starts all 14 games, and then he moves over to left tackle. I'm guessing he was the right tackle next to Zune in 2023, and then he's a left tackle at Tulane last year. So he's on his 3rd different college. I do like Graham's tape. I think he's good enough to get drafted, but because he's been on 3 different colleges, he's probably a day 3 guy. And it's ironic that Derek Graham and Trey Zune are the 2 guys competing to be the top 5th-round tackle right now because they were teammates at Texas A&M. That's what's ironic, but I think Graham has a better chance of reaching his ceiling, but they're both good. At number 21, we have Falili Faemo. He is a Wake Forest right tackle. He's a right tackle on Wake Forest. Falili Faemo. The 2 tackles that we had 88 potential grades on were in round 5, and Faemo we have an 87 on. He's in round 6. He's the only round 6 player. And then we've got a bunch of round 7 guys. So we've got 1, we've got 4 round 7 guys. We're going to start with Jacarius Peak. He's a offensive tackle at North Carolina State. He was the right tackle to Anthony Belton last year. He's moved over to the blind side this year. Monroe Freeling, the Georgia tackle. He was a swing tackle in Georgia last year. He's now Georgia's left tackle. PJ Williams, SMU. He's a guy that we have an 86 potential grade on. And then the final guy to round out this list, and the only guy with an 85 potential grade that's starting is Demetrius Crownover. And there's some other honorable mentions. Onyewaya, the Rice tackle from Ohio State. He hasn't started for Ohio State yet, so I don't think he'll get drafted. Pat McMurray, the James Madison right tackle. And Tyler Miller, the Iowa State right tackle. Those are a few honorable mentions that barely missed the cut. So there's about 27 offensive tackles that are draftable. Take it or leave it. Who are some of the guys below that 85 fresh smart threshold that could get picked? You got Harkey, the Oregon right tackle. Aaron Karras, the Colorado State left tackle. Tristan Lay, Clemson. Evan Link, Michigan left tackle. These are a few guys that missed the cut of our starter grade, but could be solid backups, solid role players. We didn't really put those role players in our rankings. Drew Shelton, Penn State. I liked Shelton at the beginning of the year. Shelton was a guy that we actually did have a starter grade at the beginning of the season, but he's been so bad for Penn State. He's now considered a backup, even if he gets drafted. So, yeah, that's the tackle group. We talked about the tight ends last week, William. I've got Eli Stowers at number 1. But it's interesting. I've got Kozoil at 2. Joey's kind of soured on Max Clare. I know you were a big fan of Clare, but Joey's kind of soured on him.
Really?
Yeah. That was a great conversation we had last week. I'm checking TalkShoe to see if
no, man. I mean,
that's restream. They're both working perfectly. So yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've talked about Max Clare and I'm just gonna start calling him Casper, something like that. And I've talked about that multiple times, how he was just a ghost underneath. And I mean, it's like, where's he coming from? I'm sitting there rewinding film, doing all that. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I mean, this kid is good. I have a first round grade on Max Clare. Tanner Kozio.
I have a second on Clare, but to be fair, I've got Stowers and I've got Kozoil graded higher. If there's a third team that needs a tight end, I absolutely believe Clare's going to be a first round pick. If there's a third team that needs a tight end this draft cycle, but I don't think there's going to be more than 2 teams that take a tight end in the first round this year.
Yeah, probably not, because there's been a few of them lately, and first round tight ends are like first round running backs. You know, they're the best of the best.
Yeah, you look at the positional value pyramid, which I'll Google in a second.
But you know, Tanner Kozio, on the other hand, I mean, as a kid,
Houston 6-1. Houston 6-1, but the positional value pyramid is something that I think Matt McGuire of Walter Football started, and then a few NFL teams tweaked it and made it their own. Like the Chiefs and the Giants were like the first. John Dorsey, the former Chiefs GM that went to the Browns, was the first to like seriously tweak it. But yes,
and I will tell you this. You want to know about? I mean, I've heard this name so many times, and it's Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon.
I've got a 4th round grade on him. I've got 10 tight ends. I think I think I've got like 10 tight ends graded ahead of him.
You know, he's an athletic guy. So many have him as tight end 1, and I don't see it at all.
I think it's because of the athletic traits. I don't think he has the upside of a Pro Bowl tight end. I think the only reason he's tight end 1 is because people are only looking at the athletic traits. They are not looking at the upside and what he can become. They're only looking at the athletic traits. It's a very base take. Not going to say it's a lazy take, but it's a very base take. It's a very base take.
Yeah. The only problem, like I mentioned before on here, with Stowers is I think he's a little bit light, so he's more of your flex tight end, slot tight end, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Not so much a true
And
Y. And I mean Vanderbilt's showing out this year.
yeah, but the positional value pyramid, I'm looking at where tight ends are ranked on the pyramid. Tight end, number 1 tight end is ranked in tier 5. But this is outdated. QB's in tier 1, left tackle, number 1 corner, and edge rusher, whether it's a 43 right end like Garrett or a 34 outside linebacker like TJ Watt, is in tier 2. And then tier 3, you have nose tackles and your number 1 wide receivers. I would, yeah, so wide receiver, number 1 receiver and nose tackle are in tier 3. I think with the success of number 1 receivers, thanks to Jamar Chase, wide receivers probably moved up into tier 2 now, but it's in tier 3 according to the positional value pyramid. And then after nose tackle and number 1 receiver, the next important position is number 2 corner, strong safety, 5 technique, which is either your number 2 defensive tackle or your best 34 defensive end. Then second edge rusher, and then middle linebacker. So that's tier 4. Middle linebackers in tier 4. And then tier 5, free safety, running back, right tackle, number 2 wide receiver, and tight end. So tight end's like the last part of tier 5. And then they've got a 3 technique, which would be your number 3 defensive tackle, nickel corner, interior lineman, which would be your top center. Because center used to be in the positional value pyramid, but it got taken out. So we'll just count center as the interior lineman. But I think you can make an argument that, yeah, center, and then the number 3 receiver, number 2 tight end, your second starting linebacker, which is second starting linebacker, and then your fullback. That's basically the positional value pyramid in a nutshell. And with how outdated the fullbacks have become, you can replace fullback with a change of pace running back.
Yeah.
Because this is a little bit outdated. So, but yeah, that's the positional value pyramid.
Yeah. You can replace fullback with a few different things. I mean, like an
with either a
H-back
tight end 3 or you could replace it with a number 2 running back or a number 3 tight end, depending on whether you're run heavy or pass heavy, whether you'd like 3 tight ends or just if you have a bell cow at running back like Jonathan Taylor and you're confident in him, you can basically replace that fullback with a 3rd tight end. It's positional flexibility. It's a great thing to have.
Oh, and one thing before I forget, I have to give a shout out to my boy Dalton Kincaid. He liked my comments about him on X.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was my tight end 1 that 2 years back, man. And yeah, he's already starting to show out this year. He got a little bit banged up, I think. He was out or questionable or one of those things for this last game. But yes, sir. Those are the 3 3 tight ends that can sneak into the first round are Stowers, Claire, and Kozio. I don't see any others.
Yes, Stower, Kozoil, and Claire are the only 3 tight ends I could see going in day 1.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see anyone else getting picked in day 1. I have the Texas tight end as tight end 4. I'll pull up my tight end rankings from last week. I'm not going to reread them all in depth, but I'll briefly pull up because I'm sure William's curious to see how many tight ends I have ranked ahead of Kenyon Sadiq. I actually have 11 ranked ahead of him. I thought I had only 10. I have Jack Endries of Texas as tight end 4, but I have a round 3 grade on Endries. I've got a round 2 grade on Claire, but I do acknowledge that Claire could get pushed into day 1. I've got a round 3 grade on Endries. I've got a round 3 grade on Justin Jolly. I've got a round 3 grade on Miles Kitzelman out of Tennessee. A round 3 grade on Oscar Delp. And then I've got Luke Hack, Ole Miss tight end that hasn't played it down, round 4. Matt Lauder, Boise State, round 4. RJ Maryland, we talked about him on 100 yards of football when we did the SMU preview last year. He's a round 4 guy. Jack Veiling, Michigan State, round 4. And I've got those guys. Then I've got Sadiq at tight end 12. And I Sadiq barely edged out Terrence Carter Jr. of Texas Tech for tight end 12. So
Yeah.
that should tell you I'm not as high on him, but I do think he's good enough to get drafted, but I'm not as high on him as the consensus.
Somebody's going to
and
take
then-
a chance on him, you know. I mean, obviously because of his physical gifts, but they also have to understand he's also like 6'3", like 240, 245 pounds. That's not very big, man. You know,
Yeah,
that
it's not.
that's getting down
But I think a
into
lot of it's part of the culture Dan Lanning's building and the fact
Sure.
that the athletic traits are there and the fact that Oregon's secretly becoming a tight end factory before our eyes. I think a lot of those variables are why he's been hyped up. Dorian Fleming is tight end 14. I have him, the Maryland. Joe Royer, Lake McCree. Yeah, I'm going to wait to am I going to break down the MLS bracket I posted on Wednesday? I will, but I'm probably going to wait till Joey gets here to do that because he picked Cincinnati to win the MLS Cup. I took Miami because Lionel Messi is the best player in the world. Look, people can make an argument for Ronaldo or Neymar, but here's the deal. Messi took Argentina, which is not a country that wins the FIFA World Cup frequently, and he won the FIFA World Cup with them. And that's the argument I would make for Messi being the best soccer player in the world because Brazil, Italy, France, Germany, those are the countries that usually win the FIFA World Cup, not Argentina. Messi carried Argentina to a championship. So for me, that makes him the best soccer player in the world. And I don't think there's a close second. I think you could argue Ronaldo or Neymar, but I think both those guys are 2A and 2B. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, Messi had 29 goals and 14 assists for Inter Miami. They're opening up a new stadium next year. I thought the stadium was going to open up in 2025. It got pushed back to 2026. So yeah, and Messi, Nashville has 3 good center backs, and none of them were defending Messi. It was the sloppiest defense I've seen from a coaching standpoint. It's just like, ugh. I'm happy the team I picked to win won, but it's like the defense was just so damn sloppy, and I want to get some of these NFL midseason report cards out of the way before Joey gets here. So we're gonna jump straight into the Raiders. We got the Raiders and Cardinals. The Raiders have a higher draft pick, so we're gonna jump into the Raiders contracts, William.
All righty. Let's pull up.
Here we go. I know it's the 13-year anniversary of Draft Utopia. I just felt like imitating Dak Prescott and having some fun.
Here we go. Man, I heard that. It was driving me crazy,
like,
dude.
People have roasted Dak for that. So now he'll just say, here we now if he says here we go, so they'll just and he'll just hike.
Yeah. I'm definitely not sure where that one came from, but I was watching them. What was it? They were playing the Niners at sometime or something, or I was just happened to turn them on. I don't know, but it
Every
was
time
like
Dak Prescott
making
plays,
me
he'll
grimace
say,
after the
"Here
third
we
time.
go." It's like he'll say it, but people have heard him say "here we go" so frequently that it's just like he'll say it quickly to avoid getting roasted. It's a political correctness thing. I don't know. But yeah, Geno Smith's under contract till 2028. The Raiders can't buy out Geno Smith until 2027, so they're stuck with Geno. Pickett will. Kenny Pickett's a UFA after this year. He will not pass go, do not collect $2 million contract monopoly card. Kenny Pickett will draw the go to jail card. Here's the thing. He's still on injured reserve. Are the Raiders going to keep Aiden here, or are they going to trade O'Connell for a draft pick like the Browns did? And who is on a $234,000 for one. The Raiders running back, they have Ashton Ginty for the next 3 years. Mostert and Zamir White, their backups are UF out of New Hampshire 2024 draft pick. Was fourth string as a rookie, fourth string this year, and then next year he'll be the change of pace back behind Ginty. Unless the Raiders re-sign, I don't think they will. But I like Zamir White enough to where I will look at his.
Oh, well, I guess we lost Chris. I think we were talking about the Raiders here. And trading Aiden O'Connell. You know, I had Aiden O'Connell as a backup that could develop into being a starter coming out of Purdue. I mean, this is a kid that spread the ball out. Every different receiver, everything else, he's just not athletic at all, you know. And I'm not sure what the Raiders are going to do with Geno Smith, like he was talking, because that's going to be an out. And at some point, you know, he's already 34 years old. Of course, he hasn't had much wear. He hasn't had much playing time. Things like that. I mean, he started off his career, you know, way down the line, but he's proved himself as a game manager, and obviously to Pete Carroll. But let's see who else we got here. In their wide receivers room, Jacoby Myers, got the rookie Jack Beck. He's out. Trey Tucker's an interesting one. You know, he was a rookie 2 years ago. Dante Thornton, that's another one, you know, people have been talking about coming out, seeing what he could do. Heard a few things about him in fantasy football. Whatever that's worth. Besides that point, let's see, who else do we have? Guess we'll just go down the line since we're talking about that. Of course, at tight end, they've got both Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. I had a first round grade on Michael Mayer coming out of college and coming out of Notre Dame. I mean, he's a good player, good blocker, good everything, just not overly athletic. I think he runs like 4.7 40. Not sure who else they got for tight ends. I should probably know this because, you know, that's my specialty and all. Let's get down to offensive lineman. See who we got going on. Colton Miller's a left tackle. He signed an extension, 3-year extension, started this year. Jackson Powers Booth, 2024 rookie. So he's still on a rookie contract. Tackle Charles Grant. Yeah. Never heard of him. Just no name you remember anyway. Delmore Glaze, another rookie, 2024. So, you know, this is definitely a work in progress, but the Raiders have always been an enigma, you know, since since the old man was around. Dylan Parham on a rookie contract. That was 2022. Actually, that expires this year, so he'll be a free agent. Long snapper. Jacob Bobenmoyer. He's a free agent this year too. Of course, you know what that means. Not a whole lot. They got guard Jordan Meredith. Another one that's up this year. Cody Whitehair. Another one that's free agent guard. Other than that, start talking about what's going on. There's a lot of trade rumors with Max Crosby, being best player they have. And that's a guy that they literally got their coaching staff and GMs together, and told his kid that you're not going anywhere. And Max Crosby has just been a force at edge. Are you back? His computer's back. Hey,
I agree with
that. What up, homie?
Kidding. Colt Miller's good. What's up, William? So Colton Miller, Bowers, Mike. No, that's the Raiders' entire roster. Those 6 players. They neglected the series in the draft. They neglected
pretty much.
Those 6 players are the entire Raiders roster. So, yeah, they will replace Geno Smith. Geno Smith cannot win with this supporting cast. Doesn't Smith a bad quarterback, but his best days, his peak years with the Seahawks are behind him, and as good as to actually put a good roster around him. He forgot the number to talk shoe. So I will check Facebook.
Yeah, this audio isn't wanting to work today. Apparently his video either. We're back to me. One thing I'll tell you, I did an evaluation on their linebacker, Tommy Eichenberg, out of Ohio State. Man, I mentioned the name Luke Kuechly. Not that he has anything, I mean, this kid was a 5th-round pick, everything else. Let me explain, though. When I was watching his film, I saw Eichenberg doing some of the same things that I saw Kuechly do when I graded him coming out of Boston College and had him as a top 10 overall pick, which was obviously true, since he ended up with Carolina at 9. But Chris absolutely flipped, scoffed everything. I mentioned Eichenberg and Kuechly in the same sentence. It's a funny story. You got to ask him about it sometime. Give him shit about it on social media or something like that. But let's see. I'm not sure where Chris was headed with this next. I'm just a writer and a little bit of a scout. But Chris is the brains of the organization. I just try real hard, kind of like Cam Scatabo. Love that kid. Man, what him and Jackson Dart are doing with the New York Giants. it's cool to see players come out that have heart like that, and just the leadership and just watching them. I mean, they might have even saved Brian Dable's job. I wasn't even sure that was possible. But yeah, I don't think we're going to talk about the Raiders too much longer. Um, Chris was right about those 6 players were were the entire roster. That's pretty much it for besides Jeremy Chin. He's not up until next year though. I'm not sure if you mentioned him and all that hoopla, but of course his audio has been out, so I'm not sure what you guys have seen or heard or haven't. But I'll try real hard. What else do you want to talk about? Let's see if we can get somebody up here in the chat room. Give me a team to mention if I can. Messages will display. Well, that's not true. However, we're in the AFC West. Of course, I'm sitting here in Colorado, so while I've got the mic all to myself, I'll brush you guys up on their contract deal situation. I know this is a team that signed a whole bunch of free agents from the Niners, like McGlinchey, Dre Greenlaw, Hafanga, the safety. But it was sad to see Greenlaw actually leave. I mean, that dude was the absolute heart of my team's defense. But their largest contract, Mike McGlinchey, of course, he just signed it this last year. Are you back?
His contract, I think one of 3 things is going to happen. He's going to get traded, and a team's going to take on his contract. He's going to play until 2027. He gets cut, or he wins a playoff game in 2027, and then, or he wins a playoff game next year, and then he sucks in 2027, and then they buy him out for dead cap in 2028. I would say there's a 95% chance Kyler Murray does not make it through the 6 or 7. It was like a 5-year extension, 23. So 2024, 2025, 2026, 24. It was a 4-year extension with a 5th-year club option by the team. So that was the contract Kyler got.
I wonder how many Call of Duty points he got for that one, or if he had it in his contract.
Yeah, I believe Kyler Murray will either be traded and they'll roll with Jacoby Brissett as the placeholder next year and they'll draft someone else, or they'll roll with both quarterbacks and make a change in 2027 when they can buy out Kyler Murray. Because I really don't see any other scenario, William. And restream the draft utopia. The cities are green, okay? They're green. They're not blue. They're green. If you want to change the font color, change it to red. Don't change it to something that's relevant to me. Don't change it to something that I don't want. It's like making me use the air theme. I know it's there, but I don't want to use the air theme. Now, if William wants to use the air theme for Under the Bleachers, we'll use the air theme for that. Because the air theme is basically the news ticker, except it's without without a color. It's a colorless news ticker under it. I do not want blue. I want green or red. Restream's not even letting me change the color. They're just being... They're being...
Difficult.
No. Color. I want to change the color, Restream. Stop being a color. I will want blue, okay? I don't want... Like, if you gave me powder... If you gave me, like, blue or... I want green. I don't want this powder white. This is not just sucking. This is Kyler Murray slack off, blowing off OTAs to play Grand Theft Auto 7. So that's the level of sucking you're doing. This is Kyler Murray blowing off OTAs to play Grand Theft Auto 7 level sucking. Grand Theft Auto, which is really bad. I will settle for this green. It's not the exact green. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, Restream. You disconnect right with the color I want. You disconnect. It's like you're basically saying you either take blue or we'll use cancel culture on your ass. No, that's not how this works. I'm gonna get the color I want, and that's the end of it.
Wow. Man, they actually signed Kyler Murray to that contract. Wow. 15% of the cap, 15.5%.
I'm gonna get the color I want, and then we're gonna resume the Cardinals contract. 29, but they could buy him out in 2028. I don't know what's wrong with my screen. I'm checking some stuff. I've got the visuals loaded. I don't know what's going on.
Me neither. This audio is really
And
jacked
say
up
responsive.
today too.
Page is unresponsive on Google. Google Chrome is being a dick.
I'm wondering if it had to do with that.
My microphone plugged in.
I wonder if it has to do with that app thing the other day, where
I know we're still
bunch of everything to
recording.
do with Amazon was shut down. Yeah, I was on Restream for a minute talking. I started talking about the Broncos. I didn't know where you were going with the list, so
I'm trying to go through all these contracts. We got.
Oh, I was talking contracts. I was definitely talking contracts. I was
All right.
trying anyhow.
Okay. All right. Can we go from demo to welcome, please? Can we go from demo to welcome?
Man, I can see the gray in my beard from here. Dang. Okay. Are you froze, bro? Because I can't hear a word you're saying if we're still live now. Oh, yeah. It says we're still live. I love that Halloween writing, man. Colors, on the other hand, he definitely didn't get the color he wanted. Aha. I see movement.
audio device.
Yeah, the audio is really jacked today.
Okay. I see everything. I know you can't hear. I agree is you know what? Let's try the internal microphone on the computer versus the audio. Okay. I think we can hear me a lot better now. Oh,
Yes. As soon as I said yes. Mm.
you're going to go back to toner. We're going to go back to toner.
What is that? Turn on reaction.
No, you can hear me now. Okay, you can hear me. Perfect. All right, we're going back to the Cardinals contract. Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett, not going to be any changes at quarterback next year, I don't think. Connor, are the Cardinals going to buy out James Conner? He had a season-ending injury. He's 30. I think he's a buyout candidate. I think Connor's probably a buyout candidate. Then you hear my rant about Connor.
Yeah, it's I heard a little bit. I heard the buyout. Like you said, 29
looking
years
at the
old.
Here, the Cardinals $1 million if they buy out Connor next year. So yeah, he's pretty much gone. He'll turn 31. So
yeah, and Benson is just
he's pretty much done in Arizona.
Yeah, and Benson is just so good.
Yeah. So Cardinals might draft in the running back, but I'm guessing they will roll with Benson as the DeMercado and Knight will be tendered as RFAs. I don't think DeMercado deserves to be tendered. Was that DeMercado or was that Michael Carter who fumbled the ball against the Titans? I think it was DeMercado, but I had to go there.
You know?
Dortch and Zay Jones. Weaver could be the Weaver. McBride and Ryan. Jonah Williams is a UFA. So is Will Hernandez. If the market value there is the market value on any of those tackles. No, so and I'll check the audio in a second. Okay, the audio's working. That's good. All right, just double checking because the audio's gone in and out so frequently that Restream has turned me into the freaking health inspector with how many times the audio's gone in and out. I'm literally the health inspector at this point. Will Hernandez is gone.
They just glad.
Yeah. Will Hernandez is a UFA, so no players on the defense that have market values. And interior defense, you're getting everyone back except Calais Campbell. I'm not really worried about Calais Campbell. I mean, what he's done at 830s is amazing, but he is just a stopgap until Walter Nolan made this year. So that's part of the reason why we have not seen the Cardinals defense play as good as it could be. And they'll have all their linebackers back. All their linebackers are on very 2-year deals outside of edge rusher. Outside of their edge, I believe on Josh Sweat's on a 5-year deal. Blail Nichols, a interior defensive lineman, on a 2-year deal. Zaven Collins, 2-year deal. BJ Ojulari, 2 years left on his rookie deal. Zaven Robinson, he's a 34 defenseman. Aaron Browning is a 34 left outside linebacker. He should be in the edge rusher category. So, yeah, Baron Brock, Wilson, Akeem Davis, either. Cardinals are going to have most of their pieces back next year, so they could very easily be a playoff team. Sean Bunting Murphy, he'll probably be a buy. He's making $9.5 million next year. All the Cardinals corners and rookie deals having more success than Bunting. It makes a lot of sense to buy him out if you can. $7.5 million. If the Cardinals cut James Conner and Sean Bunting Murphy, they save $15.5 million with those $500,000 million. So those two are pretty much gone. Connor and Bunting Murphy spend on players. Oh, and Jalen Thompson's a UFA, the free safety. I'm wondering if he has a market value. Because there were players in the Ravens and Bills in market values. It's almost like they're saying, we'll do market values for the playoff teams, but we're going to ignore everyone else until the offseason. That's basically what they're saying, because they had market values for the Ravens and Bills last week, but they don't have market value for any of the terrible teams. Next team up is the Jaguars, William. Well, any thoughts on this Cardinals team, where they're at to Jacksonville?
No, sir. No, sir.
Yeah, it's just they've been
dealing with injuries
for a reason. That's they have been dealing with injuries. They had the Will Johnson injury in week 3 because he got injured against San Francisco, missed the Thursday night, and it's all been downhill since the injuries have occurred.
Yes, sir.
All
but
right,
yeah,
Jaguars,
I mean, it's the Cardinals, man. Next.
Yeah, I agree. Spot track. Okay, here we go. Page was unresponsive initially, but I don't want the ticker. I'm on the Jaguar page. I don't want to go to another team page. All right, the Jags. Trevor Lawrence is not a UFA until 2031. Jeez, $78.5 million for Trevor Lawrence. Trent Baalke probably did a line of coke after he got this contract finalized just to screw the Jaguars. Or maybe he was like Al Scarface. Yeah, we'll pay $78.5 million. That's probably what Trent Baalke did. I won't be here in 2029. That's probably what Trent Baalke did when he negotiated this contract. No disrespect, Baalke.
Another like, Quaalude. She love me in the morning.
$78.5 million. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't pay a quarterback that much, even if I'm drugs, William.
That's a ton, bro.
That should say something. I'm pretty certain I'd be sober enough not to pay the QB that much.
Yeah, especially Trevor Lawrence. I might throw that in there. I mean,
Is he on talk show now? I heard a sound. Yes, he is. Awesome. So we just finished our we did the offensive tacklings. William and I knocked those out. We knocked out the offseason preview for the Cardinals. And we like the Utah tackles, and then neither of the Ohio State tackles made our rankings. I think either's draft eligible.
I think one of them might be, or at least NFL Draft Buzz said they were.
We'll see.
First.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll have an. Yeah. Because they might both go back in 2027. But looking at the Jaguars, the reason I fun of Trent Baalke doing a line of coke is because the Jaguars his contract runs through 31, and by 2029, the Jaguars are paying Trevor Lawrence $78.5 million a year. Now that's probably going to get restructured when the time comes, but $78.5 million is what Trevor Lawrence is currently making in 2029. So, yes, that's why I made a joke about doing a bump of coke.
More than a bomb.
On the podcast before you got here, Joey. Because if you're paying Trevor Lawrence $78.5, there is something seriously wrong with you. I'm guessing he'll restructure his contract like Watson did with the Browns, but we'll visit that chapter when 2029 arrives. We're still in 2025. And this is, yeah, that's the thing. You do not trade your number one corner, your 4-1, because that's going to kill the morale in the locker. When you're 4-1, yeah. And this is, yeah, it's right now the Jaguars are like the jocks in Revenge of the Nerds too, and Andrew Barry's, yeah, because the nerd is I don't know who the actor was that played the. It's basically Andrew Barry right now with the Jags, except instead of running fraternities, they're running NFL franchises. That's the only difference. I can't believe I just made a Revenge of the Nerds reference on the 13th anniversary of Draft Utopia. What the hell is wrong with me? But yeah, Travis Etienne's in a. I would Lloyd and Travis Etienne. Everybody else not done enough to win player of the game, and that seems to be Devin Lloyd does ball. Devin Lloyd's going to limit his ability to make big plays, and you beat the Jags. But yeah, I think the Jaguars need to draft a new running back if they let Etienne walk. I like LaQuint Allen. I'm not as high on Tootin. I like LaQuint Allen more than I like Tootin. But I don't know how to get Jags. Brown, uh, the tight second string tight end is their tight end, just did not make a trade for a tight end at the. Is that in both games forward? So move Hainsey left guard and Monheim to, the Jaguars be considering moving Wyatt Milam to left guard next. Hines, Allen, and Walker. Everyone on the Jaguar defensive line is back. Montaric Brown, Andrew Wingard, Greg Newsome, Smoot, Colin Saunders. Those are the only UFAs. So there's going to be a little bit of turnover, but everybody else coming back. So I have the Jaguars currently finishing at 9-8, but they missed the playoffs. They might be 8-9 in the simulator. I think they might be 8-9 in the simulator now. Before we get to the next team. But yeah, the Jaguars trading Campbell Waffle. The Browns own their first round pick. And hey, I mean, the Jags are 8-9 at this point. So yeah, I have the Jags are 4-3, but my regular section is now changed to 8-9 for the Jags. That's weird. I've got the Texans at 9-8 edging out the Browns. That's weird, but hey, whatever. It's what it is.
Yeah, we know you don't like Knicks.
View him as a floor QB. He did the Giants to earn player of the game. So far of the 2024 quarterbacks that have won player of the game as both a rookie and as a sophomore, we only have 3. Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix. That's it. Caleb almost won player of the game in week 3, and he probably should have since he had over 300 total yards against the Cowboys. Caleb should have won player of the game in week 3. He had over 300 total yards against the Cowboys and but we gave the award to Luther Burden because Luther Burden had 3 receptions on every target. That was the difference. It was a very slim margin, William, but since Burden caught every target, he got the nod over Caleb. So Caleb probably should have gotten player of the game in week 3, and there's still time for Caleb, but it also feels like the Bears are winning in spite of him versus winning because of him. So we'll see what happens with Caleb. I think right now, Jaden and Mayer Nix, they have to show me something by the end of next season, or they're both on their way out. That's where we're at with the QBs, I'd say, William. I could be wrong on that assessment, but I'd say that's where we're at. Jaden and May are probably both going to get second contracts. Nix and Caleb will probably get fifth-year tenders. And Penix could either get a fifth-year tender or he could be on his way out, but we still need to see more of a sample size this season and next season before we can make a verdict on Penix. And the same is going to be said with McCarthy. He'll get week 9 from the end of the season, and he'll get next year to prove himself.
Yeah. I've been trying to make a move in my one fantasy football league, and I just traded Nix off my taxi squad, but I got a second round pick for him. Not having much invested in him. I've also got Josh Allen and Drake May, so I didn't need him. And
yeah, you could get Nussmeier with that second round trade. And we made a trade last week.
That was interesting.
I gave William all of my picks in the first 4 rounds of the dynasty draft, and I got a first, second, and third by punting on the draft in Williams' league.
Yeah, I really do think it worked well for both of us. So I think we both have a bright future in that league. And now I think the audio went completely out because I'm not hearing a word anymore. Just me.
This again. Device unexpectedly stopped. We're still live on Restream. It's just the audio. Okay, I can see my audio in the microphone, so it's working again. All right, we had 3, 5, and 2 teams with bye. Let's see. Let's go back to week 8. Let's go back to week 8 on NFL.com here and see because we yeah, I think we have the Seahawks, the Rams, and we had one other team. So I just want to see where those teams. Is the Lions, the Rams, and I vote we do the Seahawks. What do you? They're all 3 teams are last. Oh, either was your division. You have team last year. I could I could be working on code for a. Let you guys take the lead, but we can go with the Seahawks. We can go with the Rams.
Seahawks
Or
works.
we can go Rams. But I expect that I have the Seahawks in the wild card. Seahawks. So you guys are voting. We'll go Seahawks.
No faith, man.
What if there's another power out? If the Ravens make this Super Bowl and they play like the Packers or the Eagles, do you think there'd be another power outage in San Francisco? Just
I wouldn't doubt it, man. Aren't the Ravens 1-5 though?
yeah, but they would become the first that start 1-3 with a losing record to win the Super Bowl since the Patriots did it in Super Bowl 36, I believe, or it may have been another Super Bowl where they started 1-3 and won it all. I think it was 36, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, shit, I don't remember that was what. But
what's interesting is the Seahawks are going to keep their QB core intact. I thought Locke got a 1-year deal. He got a 2-year deal, but here's the kicker. Even though Drew Lock's second string on the depth chart, Jalen Milroe's actually seen more regular season snaps than Locke. That's the fascinating thing about the Seahawks QB dynamic is after we get through the bye weeks, we're doing the MLS. We're going to get to the MLS playoff games because the MLS playoffs started this week. So we're going to get to that. It's the 13th anniversary of Draft Utopia. Don't worry. I am ready for our Patriots Browns. I am ready to go for that. But it's like the 7th game. So we got all this stuff to do before we get to that. But in all seriousness, I read a report. Yeah, because I read a report. It's interesting because last week I read a report that final 4 games, Shedeur Sanders, the Browns were preparing Shedeur Sanders to start the final 4 games. I think the first person to report that or something involving the Browns was Josina, and reported what Josina Anderson said on Pro Football Network, and he didn't give Josina any credit. This is why Florio's always been kind of an asshole. He's great at what he does, but he's also kind of an asshole. And I read I found the old Pro Football Talk website on Wikipedia. And you know what happens if you load the old Pro Football Talk website on Wikipedia? There's like a Pro Football Talk website from 2007, and one of the articles is Mike Tirico is a retard, written by Mike Florio from 2007. I swear that's one of the articles on Pro Football Talk from 2007, and it's got Mike Tirico calling Monday Night Football at ESPN, and the head article is Mike Tirico's a retard. That is on Pro 7. I swear, I'm not making this up. I saw the article and everything. And if you confront Florio on it, he will deny.
You want to know what I saw yesterday?
I'm sure it's better than my Mike Florio.
I saw Kid Rock on. I saw Kid Rock on Jesse Waters, a clip, and it was saying, "Guess what I'm going as for Halloween?" And he puts up this medical mask, and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "A retard." Dude, it had me rolling. So politically incorrect. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't laugh at that. But yeah, it was bad. Bad.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to check something on Restream. Okay. So the audio's device has stopped working, and William disconnected, reconnected, but he's back. All right. So let's talk contracts here. We've got the QBs. Milrose taking some snaps. So is Gabriel. I think if Browns get or in scenario for Browns Patriots, but I think Austin Hooper gets the touchdown, and I think McDaniels decides to go for 2 and be a dick. He did that against, not putting it past McDaniels to do that again, but like, he's been the biggest roadblock to Shedeur. But let's get back to Seahawks. Kenneth Walker really hasn't been extended. He's been great. I mean, Kenneth Walker was healthy his rookie year. He dealt with injuries in year 2 and year 3. He's been healthy this year, but is he really going to stay this healthy? It's healthy just to get the money. That's what I'd like to know. We do have market value on Kenneth Walker, the third, 9.6. Kenneth Walker. $9.6. I don't know if I'd pay Kenneth.
He's been too injury prone. I mean, he's definitely been way too injury prone. And having somebody like Charbonnet behind him.
million. That's the plus, but I am saying if walk, but 9.6 million is like at a floor, but severely great college, but have him on a rookie one more contract. The average running back at the league and see if Walker is 8.6 million. I think that's a fair thing. I think that's a fair thing. If all right. Right. Saquon Barkley, 20.6, 319 million. Henry James Jones, 9 point for Kenneth Walker. I'd say 9.6, and they're probably going to meet. That's probably going to be where they meet. Looking at the salary from a negotiation standpoint, but I don't think anybody wants 10 million a year. And Charbonnet on a rookie deal, and they did have, so Walker was a guy Seattle at a first round day too. He was a guy they had in their top 32, so they might give him what he wants. But the problem is he's had trouble staying healthy, and I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze with Kenneth Walker. Time. Yeah, because right now Kenneth Walker is not worth any of it. Yeah, Derrick Henry's making 15 million a year with the rate million. What Cook is making? No. Is he worth what Kyron Williams making 11 million? No. Is he worth slightly more than what Aaron Jones is making? You can make that argument. Is he worth more than James Conner at 9.5 million? I think you can make that argument. He's worth more than Montgomery. So, are